be able to show more mobility than anybody thought. The accuracy's there. Oh, everything about Shedeur Sanders screams he's the quarterback. But if people are going to negative in April, they're going to be negative now because they're going to be like, where is he ranked? Forget that. Look at the interceptions that were off of Jerry Jeudy, off of Judkin's shoulder. Batted balls like Burrow had one yesterday, batted in a pick six. You blaming Burrow for that? No. You're blaming Shedeur for a couple batted balls that were picked off? You shouldn't, okay? So you're going to be fair here.
Mel Kiper just delivered one of the most direct defenses of Shedeur Sanders we've seen all season during a heated discussion about the rookie quarterback. This longtime draft analyst openly challenged the narrative coming out of Cleveland. According to Kiper, the criticism surrounding Sanders ignores crucial context, and the story being told about his performance simply doesn't match reality.
So really, when you look at what Shedeur did this year, not having any training camp, never with the ones, defense, offense, be thrown out there, playing in brutal weather conditions, not in domes.
That's not changing. That's not changing, though.
In great weather, in brutal weather conditions. If you're going to sit there and tell me you weren't impressed with the rookie year of Shedeur Sanders,
when Mel Kiper speaks about quarterbacks people pay attention, he has spent decades evaluating talent, studying film, and projecting how young players will translate to the NFL. So, when he openly criticized the Cleveland media's coverage of Shedeur Sanders, it immediately caught the attention of the football world. Kiper didn't use subtle language either. Instead, he made it clear that the narrative surrounding Sanders' rookie season lacked important context. According to him, much of the criticism focused only on surface-level statistics without acknowledging the circumstances the young quarterback faced. That distinction matters.
I would say you weren't watching the same game I was.
Some of the question marks remain are the interceptions. Not all of them are just mistakes, are just, sort of unexpected, goofy interceptions. Some of them were just bad interceptions. And the sacks, he's got to take fewer sacks. That ball has got to get out of his hand faster. And
quarterback evaluation is rarely as simple as looking at interceptions or completion percentages. Performance is influenced by preparation, coaching decisions, offensive line play, and the overall environment around the player. When those factors are ignored, the picture can become distorted. Kiper argued that this is exactly what has been happening in Cleveland. In his view, the local narrative has emphasized Sanders' mistakes while downplaying the obstacles he dealt with throughout the season. Instead of asking deepest questions about preparation or roster issues, many discussions focus solely on whether the rookie was good enough. Kiper pushed back on that approach.
Look at everything that Kevin went through over the last year with Shedeur and some of the stupidity and nonsense that was out there. What coach would want to sign up for that? Particularly when he didn't play that well. He wasn't that good. I've been pretty adamant. He shouldn't be on this team. To me, Shedeur should not be on this team next year. He's not good enough to be the starter, and this organization is not stable and mature enough to have him as a backup.
From his perspective, evaluating Sanders without acknowledging the conditions he played under creates an incomplete, unfair analysis. He pointed out that rookie quarterbacks often struggle even in ideal situations. When those situations become difficult, expectations must be adjusted accordingly. That was the core of his argument. Kiper wasn't claiming Sanders had a perfect season. Instead, he was challenging the idea that the rookie's performance should be judged without considering the environment around high. In doing so, he shifted the conversation away from simple criticism and toward a broader evaluation of what Sanders did.
Man, I really didn't have a problem when he finally took over of what he looked like, because I expected for him to look like that.
Young.
Yeah, I don't expect for him. I wasn't expecting for him to be looking like Drake May, because he didn't have a Drake May situation, right? A young quarterback. He didn't have that.
We talked about that.
And so I expect for him to turn the ball over. I expect for him to fumble in the snow, throw a pick. I expect that. What the hell you want him to do?
Shedeur Sanders' rookie season quickly became one of the most discussed quarterback performances in the league. From the moment he entered the starting lineup, every throw, mistake, and highlight seemed to spark debate. Part of that attention comes from Sanders' profile. As the son of Deion Sanders and a highly visible college star, he entered the NFL with enormous expectations. His confidence, his personality, and leadership style had already made him one of the most recognizable young quarterbacks in football. That visibility meant his rookie season would be analyzed closely.
It was a net positive having Shedeur Sanders on the Cleveland Browns this year. If not, who in the hell was watching them win 5 games? I don't even know if they win 5 games without Shedeur.
When the year began, the discussion centered on potential. Analysts talked about his accurate decision-making and composure under pressure. Many believed he had the tools to develop into a franchise quarterback, but as the season progressed, the conversation shifted. Like many rookies, Sanders experienced growing pains. There were interceptions, missed reads, and moments where the speed of the professional game became apparent. For critics, those moments became the focal point of the narrative. For supporters, however, the story looked different.
This uneven context is further compounded by Sanders being benched in a one-score high-leverage situation. That tells you how short the leash really was for him. Now let's talk about protection. Sanders was playing behind one of the worst protection environments in football, and instead of adjusting, the coaching staff didn't meaningfully increase help. No consistent extra protectors, no expanded chip blocks. But Gabriel received significantly more built-in protection, even with the same line. And protection is a coaching choice. It wasn't applied evenly. This is where people usually say, Shedeur just holds the ball for way too long. But the data tells a different story.
Damn.
Sanders wasn't just under more pressure, but the pressure arrived way faster. We're talking pressure in under 2.5 seconds, before most routes concepts even exist. So when pressure arrives that fast, time to throw becomes survival time. And this stat is really important. Despite extreme pressure and the reduced margin for in-game mistakes, Sanders actually turns pressure into sacks less often. That means he's escaping, throwing the ball away, or keeping plays alive. And that's not poor processing. That's problem solving under chaos.
They pointed out flashes of talent that suggested Sanders was adjusting to the league. There were games where he showed strong arm talent, mobility, and the ability to keep plays alive under pressure. His resilience in difficult situations became a major talking point among those who believed in his long-term potential. This divide created two competing narratives. One side viewed the season primarily through the lens of mistakes. The other emphasized development and the challenges rookie quarterbacks typically faced. Both perspectives existed throughout the year, but the negative interpretation often dominated headlines. That's where Kiper's comments became significant. By hiding the broader context of Sanders' rookie campaign, he reopened the debate about how the season should actually be judged. One of the key points Mel Kiper raised involves Sanders' preparation before the season even began. According to Kiper, the rookie quarterback entered his first year without the type of training camp environment most young starters receive. Preparation is crucial for any quarterback, especially a rookie. Training camp and preseason practices are designed to build chemistry with a starting offense. Quarterbacks develop timing with receivers, communication with offensive linemen, and familiarity with the system through repeated first-team reps. That process often determines how comfortable a quarterback looks once the regular season begins. Kiper argued that Sanders did not receive the same.
Again, talk to me in 2 years. If you talk to me in 2 years and say, well, what you think about Shedeur right now, I could really, truly give you a real evaluation. The evaluation I'm giving you right now is based on a 3-4 record as a rookie that was the third quarterback that was forced into the lineup. And so he did what he could do in a short period of time.
Without consistent first-team practice repetitions, developing that chemistry becomes significantly more difficult when a quarterback is suddenly placed into live games. Without those foundational reps, mistakes and miscommunication are far more likely for a rookie. Learning the professional game, that challenge can be overwhelming. Kiper emphasized that context when discussing Sanders' early struggles. Instead of viewing mistakes as evidence of inability, he suggested they reflected the lack of preparation time normally given to starting quarterbacks. The difference between preparation and performance is important. Quarterbacks who spend weeks working with a starting offense often enter games with a stronger understanding of their teammates' tendencies. Routes are timed better, protections are communicated more clearly, and the entire offense operates with greater rhythm. When that preparation is missing, even talented quarterbacks can appear inconsistent. Kiper's argument was simple. If the goal is to evaluate Sanders fairly, the discussion must begin with how he was prepared for the season. Without acknowledging that factor, any analysis of his performance risks overlooking one of the most influential elements of his rookie year. Another major factor Kiper highlighted was the offensive line situation in Cleveland. For any quarterback, protection is one of the most important elements of offensive success. For a rookie quarterback, it becomes even more critical. Throughout the season, the Browns' offensive line faced multiple challenges. Injuries, Inconsistent protection and breakdowns in pass blocking created difficult conditions for the quarterback position. When protection collapses quickly, quarterbacks are forced to make decisions faster than intended. That pressure can disrupt an entire offensive rhythm. Instead of progressing calmly through reads, quarterbacks often have to scramble, throw under duress, or take hits while attempting to complete passes. These situations increase the likelihood of mistakes and reduce the effectiveness of even the most well-designed plays. Kiper pointed out that Sanders dealt with these situations repeatedly rather than operating behind a stable pocket. He frequently faced immediate pressure that forced him to rely on mobility and improvisation just to keep plays alive. While those moments occasionally produced highlights, they also created difficult circumstances for consistent offensive execution. This context changes how performance should be interpreted. Statistics alone cannot capture how often a quarterback is pressured or forced into hurried decisions. When protection breaks down, interceptions and incompletions may reflect the situation rather than the quarterback's ability. For a rookie learning the league's speed, those conditions can be especially challenging. Kiper emphasized that Sanders showed toughness in those moments. Despite taking significant hits and facing constant pressure, he continued competing and attempting to move the offense forward. That resilience, in Kiper's view, was one of the most important aspects of Sanders' rookie season, and one that deserves far more attention than the simplified narrative often presented. Mel Kiper also pointed to another factor that rarely gets enough attention when evaluating quarterbacks in Cleveland: the environment itself. Late-season games in Cleveland often take place in brutal conditions. Freezing temperatures, heavy wind, snow, and rain that can make throwing the football extremely difficult. Even veteran quarterbacks struggle in those circumstances. Yet Sanders was expected to perform consistently despite being a rookie still adjusting to the NFL. At the same time, the offense around him was dealing with injuries. Key players missed time, including running back Quinshon Judkins, who is expected to be a major part of the offensive balance. Losing reliable weapons makes life harder for any quarterback because defenses can focus more on stopping the passing game. When Kiper mentioned these challenges, his point was simple: evaluating Sanders without acknowledging these conditions ignores a huge part of the story. The rookie wasn't playing ideal situations. He was navigating one of the toughest environments a young quarterback could face. Another issue Kiper highlighted was what he described as a clear double standard in how Sanders' mistakes were being interpreted. When rookie quarterbacks throw interceptions, criticism often follows immediately. But Kiper argued that many of Sanders' turnovers came in situations that were not entirely his fault. There were tipped passes, miscommunications with receivers, and even batted balls at the line of scrimmage. Plays that can happen to any quarterback. In fact, similar interceptions happen to veteran players every week without triggering the same level of criticism. Kiper used those examples to challenge the way Sanders' performance was being framed. In his view, some analysts were quick to label every mistake as proof that the rookie wasn't ready. But football is a complex game where outcomes often depend on multiple factors. By pointing out those details, Kiper argued that the evaluation of Sanders had become overly harsh and lacked the fairness typically applied to other quarterbacks around the league. Despite all the challenges, Kiper believes Sanders' rookie season showed promising signs. In fact, he argued that the young quarterback may have exceeded expectations given the circumstances around him. Sanders demonstrated arm strength, mobility, and toughness while dealing with constant pressure in difficult game situations. Perhaps most importantly, he continued competing even when the conditions were far from ideal. Rookie quarterbacks often struggle when thrown into challenging environments. But Sanders showed flashes of leadership and resilience that caught the attention of many observers. Kiper believes those traits are more important than short-term statistics. Development takes time, especially for quarterbacks adjusting to the professional level. What matters most is whether the player shows the tools and mentality required to improve. From Kiper's perspective, Sanders displayed both. And if the organization can provide better support around him in the future, his rookie season may ultimately be remembered as the foundation for something much bigger.